Hello again, beautiful souls. So today I wanted to talk to you about something, and I think I want to title today's talk maybe "The Currency of Enough." I think that's a good title for today's talk. I think somewhere along the line, I think we've been taught that more is always better, isn't it? More money, more time, more stuff, more followers, more likes. The more the better, isn't it? We've kind of come into that state now where everybody's looking for more of this, more of that, more of the other. And I think, but what the real currency is, and this is what I believe, and this is what I've come to believe, is that, what if the real currency is just enough? Enough is the real currency. What if the most radical thing you could do in the world that's obsessed with accumulation of everything, an accumulation of trainers, an accumulation of, just stuff. Stuff. I've talked about this in a few of my talks. And these attachments to things we have, whether it be watches. I mean, I'm a watch collector, so I've got plenty of watches. Whether it be trainers, whether it be handbags, whether it be shoes, boots. It's just stuff, isn't it? It's just accumulation. So what if the most radical thing we could do is just to stop and say, what I have here is enough. And, I think today, I'm going to point this out because today, this is why I chose this topic. So today, me and Sam have been getting ready to pack up to move on to our next adventure, which we move to on Wednesday. Today's Saturday. So we're kind of getting ready. And as you know, I've said we've got rid of our suitcases and we bought some backpacks or rucksacks, whichever you want to call them, for traveling. And we've kind of been having a dummy pack today to see if everything fits out the suitcases into the bags. And we were overpacked. So what we decided to do was get rid of the things that we didn't need, that we've been holding on to. I mean, some of you know we haven't been home since January. It is now, what we are now, coming up to the end of July. We're not going to be home probably until October. No, actually, we're back here in October. So maybe sometime in October, November, we might eventually go back to our house that we currently have at the moment, start emptying that and then get rid of it, ready for the new year. But, we've been carrying things and, I haven't worn half of the stuff that we've brought with us. We're always packing, I might wear this if, or I might wear this when. I might wear it if we go out for a lovely meal, or I might wear it if we do this, or I might go out if we go onto a business meeting. I might wear it if we go into this. And you know what? I've not worn half of the stuff that we brought with us. So me and Sam literally today have been packing the bags again. This ain't going to fit. This is not going to fit. So what we've done is, with those things that we've said, I've bought this because I might wear it if. So I'm going back through the overgrown passageway again. So those things that we brought with us and said, I might wear this if, we have literally thrown away today. And now everything fits. We've literally thrown a full big suitcase full of stuff away, including clothes, shoes, handbags, everything. We've just thrown a whole suitcase full of stuff away today. Because, I bang on about, living the simple life and only kind of utilizing what you need and things like this. And, this is proof now that we do live a simple life, as simple as it can get, that we are throwing the majority of stuff away now. So, we literally did say today, enough is enough. And it's not because we're settled. But because we've woken up to, we don't actually need all this stuff around us. We don't need a wardrobe full of clothes when we actually probably wear 2 or 3 outfits a day, 2 or 3 outfits maybe a week. We've got washing machines, so we just chuck it in the washing machine and wash it again. I've got a thing about, I like to be dressed differently on each of our videos. And Sam pointed out that, those that do live a nomadic family often are dressed in the same clothes, not because they wear them consistently and don't wash, but they just wash more often rather than, me chucking 5 outfits in the wash every week. It might be one or 2 outfits that I wash every day and wear the other one while the other one's getting washed. So it is the simplicity of living like that. I remember this has been a big shift. It has been a big shift, especially in what we're carrying along with us. Now, when it comes to other things, that when we started getting rid of the house and the other stuff that we didn't need, or when we come to that realization that we don't need the house, we don't need the full wardrobe at home, we've got a house at home that's filled with 10 years full of stuff that we don't need, don't use. So we kind of come to the realization last year that we didn't need it. This was always going to be the year, I think, that we was going to give everything up and literally just live out the bags on our back, pretty much. So, we come to that realization, and it was, connection over control. Those things were attachments. So let's let go of those attachments, you know. Well, we know we've got a hell of a job when we eventually do go back to the house and pack everything up. I think we're just going to do an open house sale. We're going to sell everything in the house. What we don't need is everything is just getting sold, apart from a few bits that I think we're going to send into a lockup and just keep there. But, kind of keepsakes and things like that. But we're just going to have an open house sale when we go back. Everything's for sale. Make us an offer, take it, leave it. Whatever doesn't get sold is just going to get skipped or given to charity, and that is literally it. That is us completely done. That is our last attachment, so to speak. That is us completely done. We've stopped chasing the, we need to have more of this, and I need to look this good, or I need to do this, or we need to have that job, we need to have that much money. Well, we don't. We are happy living the life we are living right now, because we've got more freedom than most people that have got everything. Most people that have got everything haven't actually got that much freedom, because they're still working, they're still tied to the job, still tied to a mortgage, still tied to, groups and football clubs and soccer clubs and stuff for the kids, and tied to this and tied to that, tied to the car, tied to the mortgage, tied to your council tax, tied to your tax systems. And we're not tied like that. We're not tied like that. So, it's we've completely got over that. And it's when you get rid of that, your life just elevates. There's like almost like this massive weight of the world that's sat on your shoulders. It just dissipates. It really does. We stopped chasing and we started living. We started living a life that is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The different places we see, the different places we visit. We were just sitting there back at the holiday place, and we just planning out what we're going to be doing next, and what we're going to do with the business, and how we're going to open it up globally, and taking on a workforce that will work for us. And we've decided we're going to take on nomadic families that are within our system, that do remote work. So we will take them on to do support roles and things like that. We sit down and we plan things out. And we're doing the best, and we want the collaboration, and the best of the world, and that's what we're kind of offering others that are in the same space as us, that are living the same as us, because that's what we want. That's what this life is all about: freedom, collaboration, happiness, joy, harmony. I think we realize that the world, it tries to sell us scarcity. as I said the other day, you know, a lot of people come from a place of scarcity, don't we? If only I had this much money, if only I had this much time, if only I had this many followers, I can open up a TikTok shop. If only I had that many followers, I can open up as a business. If only I had, if only I had. That's what you call scarcity, and it's coming from a place of scarcity or a place of lack. You know, what we need to be, you know, we need to have, you know, we don't need to have more. We don't need to be more, do more of the same that is keeping you attached to things. What you need is more freedom. You need more peace, more love, more happiness, more joy. That's what you need in the world. You know, you don't need all of those things just to be worthy of a status, so to speak. You know, you don't need that. You know, that's worthless. You know, you don't kind of live your life to. Maybe some people do, you know, maybe some influencers do live to be that kind of status, that kind of influencer that needs the follows, that needs the this to earn the money to kind of fulfill, not to fulfill their lives, because I don't believe a lot of people that live that way are happy with their lives, because it is stressful. It is work for them. You know, they have to get that many followers. They have to do this. They have to do that to keep their accounts in check. I don't care whether I've got 1 view, 10 views, or 1 million views on my TikToks, or, you know, on these videos that I'm recording. I don't care, because to me, this is about me. This is about something that I feel passionate about. This is something that eases me when I'm walking and I'm putting my thoughts out there and I'm getting things off of my chest on a daily basis, which, as you know, when you kind of don't get things off your chest, it builds up and builds up, and, you know, you end up arguing with your partner or your husband or wife, or, you know, whatever, and things explode, and then you end up in a period of, you know, you could end up in a period of depression because you're not getting things off your chest. And, you know, it's a vicious circle. And so for me, doing this, it helps me out. It helps my mental health. It helps me get things off my chest, put things into perspective where with regards to my life, where we're going, what we're doing, the business, what we're doing with that, how we're going to do that. You know, this all helps put everything into place for me. You know, it lives right here. You know, it lives here in the quiet, you know, in the simple moments where I just come by myself and I talk to you guys. You know, this is where it lives. This is where the joy is. This is where the fulfillment, the soul searching, and, you know, the peace, the harmony. This is where this is, and it then later on extrudes into life in general, because we are so happy, we are so harmonious and free that, you know, that's become our life. You know, and it's those things that kind of do that. You know, we did start to see that the wealth in our life, it's not in our what we've got in our bank. You know, it's the wealth now is our experiences, our memories, you know, our freedom, the rhythm of our love for each other, the rhythm of our life, as Sam talks about. That's how we measure our wealth, how happy we are, how much joy we have, how many experiences we have. How much joy it brings us to see our son flourish. Now he's not in an educational system. It's those things, and that's what we measure our wealth with now. Our connections, our new connections we make on a daily basis now. You know, rather than the same people that we meet, you know, if you live on an estate or in a village or wherever, you know, you see the same faces over and over again, don't you? And you're all going to sit there and do the same thing. You know, pull me out if I'm wrong, but you all sit there and do the same thing and moan about your lives that, you know, you know, I want to do a little bit more, or I haven't got enough money, I haven't got enough money to do this, or, you know, but you're always down the pub at the end of the weekend doing the same thing with the same people, sitting in the same places, arguing about the same things, you know. And it just kind of, I don't understand that kind of mentality anymore, and that's why we kind of come away and we do what we do, you know. That is the literal, that is it, you know. That's why we pulled away, and we didn't want that life for us. We didn't want to be sat there doing those things and arguing and complaining about the same thing day in and day out, you know. Now we argue about where we want to go next, what experience we want next. You know, do we want a hot place? Do we want a cold place? What you know? Where does the what different places and things does Dylan want to go and see? You know, but at the moment there's a toss up between Thailand and Costa Rica. Sam wants to go to Thailand to do the elephant sanctuaries and things like that, and Dylan wants to go to Costa Rica to do the monkey sanctuaries. So we've got the argument whether to go to Thailand or Costa Rica, while people are moaning about beans being collected, say for example. You know, that they're the type of things that I like to have that debate about. Not whether the bins are being collected, or, you know, HMOs that are going on your street or in your area, or, you know, the different various politics that goes on in the world now. We don't care about really. That has no effect on our lives whatsoever, because, as I said, we come completely out of that system and don't let any of that envelop our lifestyle or our lives at all. Because the less you think about it, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. The less you think about it, it doesn't envelop you, and we can concentrate on the positive, good things that are in life, you know. So, you know, I just want to remind you that, you know, you are allowed to stop chasing. You're allowed to stop it. You don't have to. It might be an ego thing, I don't know. But, you know, you are allowed to stop chasing. You're allowed to feel without needing more of everything. You know, you don't need more clothes. You don't need more of whatever it may be. What you need more of is time, freedom, enjoyment, happiness, and love. That's what you need more of, you know. More of what you desire, more of what you want out of life. That's what you need more of. And by, you know, going deep into these conversations, I'm hoping that I'm kind of opening up thought patterns for you. That's kind of generally the gist. Is I'm trying to open up thought patterns where I get you to think about what different things you might want, or how you might want to live your life, what different things you might want to get away from, what different things you might want to do, you know. And it's having gratitude for what we have. You know, I'm thankful for you know, pulling Dylan out of school and pulling Sam away from everything, and you know, and it's reciprocated because we now all absolutely adore and love the life we live, and we absolutely adore and love each other, and we've grown so much as a family unit. The love is just exponential between us all now. You know, enough isn't lack. You know, it's not lack of anything. You know, enough isn't, it's not power. You know, having this much money is not absolutely power. You know, there are more rich people in the world that commit suicide than anybody else, because they've got all this money, but no one to share it with. You know, no one to sit there and love and actually share and have that gratitude for what they have. You know, they're lonely people. A lot of rich people are actually lonely people. They might have acquaintances that help them spend their money, but no one really on their soul level to enjoy their wealth with. Because wealth, as I said, it is not money. It's enough, you know. And maybe, just maybe, I think when we stop reading more, when we stop needing more, you know, we realise that we already have everything. Back to this point again, I'm going to go back down a yellow brick road. You know, when we get to that point where we realise that if we stop needing more stuff, you know, we already have everything that we need. I think that is when you realise that you do have everything. As I say time and time again, I've got me, I've got Sam, I've got Dylan. That's what I need. I've got our love. I've got our family unit. You know, we've got each other, and we've got this amazing, amazing life of freedom. And that is everything. That is everything you need. So thank you for walking with me today, guys. Again, as usual, you know, this is what it's meant. This is what it is to remember. You know, I want you to remember that too. Just remember that enough is enough. You don't need more. You don't need more. What you've got around you is enough. So until the next time, guys, love and light to you all as usual, and take care of yourselves and others. Take care now.